Today, what I want to discuss is the budget presentation made by the Honorable Timothy Harris at the 2026 budget debate. And to be honest, his presentation was marred with a lot of crosstalk, disruptions. The Drew administration, those persons representing the administration, they are not really that tactful. You could tell they have a certain disdain for Timothy Harris, and they are not afraid to show it. Right? That's part of their thing, to try to jam him, to try to catch you. Must give props to the Speaker of the House, man. This year she was on point. I could say she was fair, down the middle, call it like it is. She was very good this year. There were prior years where she got upset, got mad, and especially at Timothy Harris. But during his presentation, I could say that she was relatively fair and relatively down the middle. So props, kudos to her for that during that presentation. So the gist of Timothy Harris's presentation was kind of similar to Sean's, but he went more in depth on the spending nature of the Drew administration, the way in which they are spending widely and the money not coming in. So the dance ain't paying for the lights. Because we all know that there's been 3 years of deficit spending. And so one of Timothy Harris's main points were that what is the sense? What is the point of this budget debate? What is the point? Because no matter what you all discuss in the budget debate, y'all still going, do your own thing, and spend way more than what was budgeted for. So what is the point of this budget debate if y'all just putting out numbers and not honoring them? Y'all still going way beyond, like by a lot. We're talking $100 million beyond what they budgeted for. And he was able to give some examples. But they also clash over the fair share agreement. And that's something I'm not going to go too in depth with because Timothy Harris can't win the argument there. He was wrong. Right? So good. So the main thrust of it is that it's not going to be a long video because a lot of it, as I said before, was the crosstalk and they wanted to try to jam him. I got you, and Khan was getting upset. Somebody swear for him, little thin skin self. So it was a lot of those kind of things. And Timothy Harris kind of went on a lot on the fair share thing too, which kind of killed time. So I would say all in all, only a few things floated to the top of his presentation. But as I said before with Sean, just check the prior video I did with Sean. It's on the channel. Timothy Harris and Sean, experience is a teacher. And once you choose to learn from it, you'll be able to master whatever you choose to master. Because you could see the clear difference between Timothy Harris, Sean, Drew and the rest. Drew and the rest last. They got last as it relates to politics. They got last. The way Timothy Harris was able to say what he said, get what he said done, defend what he had to defend. And at the end of it all, he was still able to charm the room, wishing him a Merry Christmas and whatnot. Everybody laughing, good times. So even if you vex with the man, by the time it's all said and done, most of them there, they charm. Maybe not Drew, because Drew kind of like he had personal thing against Timothy. Because when Drew talk about Timothy lives rent-free in Dr. Drew's head. I could tell you that much. I remember when he was there presenting Drew. And like he want ball when he said, he's not here. You're supposed to miss the Minister of Finance presenting. Right? So he want ball, Timothy hurt the man feelings because he didn't show up to hear his presentation. So for whatever reason, Timothy Harris lives rent-free in the head of Dr. Drew. And it comes out all the time. So let me get into it. So again, deficit spending. And he was able to use the Directive Audit Report to highlight, because the Directive Audit Report is supposed to be, well, it seems as though it is independent body. It is an independent body. And so they kind of call things how they see it. And so they highlighted a lot of unnecessary spending. They highlighted a lot of ridiculous deficits that are occurring because of the Drew administration. One thing that he pointed out was a loan that the government gave to a non-interest loan that they gave to Marriott. And so this was a real point of contention because it seemed as though these people were not aware of it, Labour people. Let me show you a clip just to show how Timothy Harris just humiliated and schooled all of them. Because these people like taking politics as a joke, and they're ignorant, as someone said, intellectually lazy, and they're ignorant to certain things, and they're happy being ignorant to certain things. Because how could you not have even browsed through the Director of Audit's report to see what Timothy Harris was referring to? So let me show you what I am talking about. So right here, I don't know if Tim set out to school them, but the result was that he schooled them, all of them. All of them came for Tim. And Tim schooled all of them with this part in this particular clip. So check it out.
A loan of $27 million to aid in the stabilization and long-term viability of the largest hotel in the country. At the time, when if we listened to the presentations, the hotel sector is...
So you see Tim ain't calling a name. Tim not calling a name. Tim going through with the presentation ain't calling a name. But Dougie, in his infinite wisdom, stood up like a rookie and said what happened.
I didn't even finish my point.
He doesn't have to, based on the rule.
Yeah.
I recognize the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 6.
Speaker, again, the distinguished member opposite is making reference to a loan to the largest hotel in this country of some $27 million. And he's reading from a document. Please share the contents of what you're reading. What's the name of the document? What's the name of the hotel? You can't be making statements like those in this parliament. You have gone on. And
this was so embarrassing. This was so embarrassing for someone who I think is the longest serving member in parliament. And to see that this happened to him, it's time for him to go. It's time for him to just call it a career. In the eyes of many, you did well. In my eyes, not so much, but it's time for you to go.
if you are misleading, the public must not hear negative things which are misleading things.
So before we proceed to the member for St. Christopher 7 responding, I need to make it clear that the rule that allows for interruption, it doesn't have a guideline that says the person has to wait on, the member has to wait until it should not be said, or which, Honourable Member for St. Christopher 7, you may proceed to respond to the point of order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I am speaking, as I was about to say, and I said it really, preface it, the documents of the government itself. If members have not read the document, then that is a different matter.
That's it.
But I am reading from this document, Madam Speaker, the National Audit Office document, which was presented as part of the list of items. And if you check your audit paper, member for number 6, you will see the Director of Audit report. The page 28, member for number 6.
You tell them the page. You even tell them the page. That was so embarrassing, Dougie. Dougie, I mean, I know you want to oppose for opposing sake, and that's something you coined. But what was that, man? Like I said, a lot of the presentation by Tim was them trying to see where they could jam him. I got you here, I got you there. And it made them look horrible. Horrible. That's just a point. That's an example right there. Horrible.
And I read, Madam Speaker, from the official document of the government. Sorry.
So what are you scrabble to find a document now? Like nobody read it for real?
Sorry. Thank you. And the Director of Audit had it very crystal clear. Subhead, Madam Speaker, draw your attention to the top of the page, loans. In 2023, says the forensic auditor, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis entered into a loan agreement with the Royal St. Kitts Beach Resort Limited for the issuance of a non-interest-bearing loan in the amount of $27 million.
So you see what we're talking about there. They didn't even read the document, and they want you to say that they're jamming him with something. But the point here is that they are spending the money frivolously. They just spend money. racking up our national debt, and we're not seeing anything for it. And so Tim used that example right there, right? He's an example to show two things. Two things he used it for, right? To show two things. The two things are that they keep boasting about how the tourism sector is doing so well, right? The tourism sector is just back and we're doing good. But yet here we are having to bail out Marriott. So the reality is the hotel industry isn't doing so well. That's the largest hotel in our country and it's in trouble. And so the government had to bail out that hotel. They didn't even tell us anything. It's there, right? I went and looked for the past reports, audit reports, and I saw one where they also gave a loan to Marriott of some $19 million. So this ain't the first time. Let me pull up that so people could see. So if I'm reading this incorrectly, somebody could correct me, but I'm seeing here, Office of the Prime Minister, right? Capital expenditure budget for 2023 was approved at 179 million to support 126 projects. The budget was revised to, got this right, 350 million to include funds required in relation to the following projects. So imagine, right? That's what Tim's main point is. You're budgeting, and your assigned capital expenditure for 2023 was approved at $179 million to support 126 projects. The budget was revised to 352 million to include funds required in relation to the following. And you have one here with 19 million for Marriott, among other things. Right? Among other things. So when you get a chance, you can go and look at it. But the point is that this is not a small revision. This isn't a small revision. We're talking about $100 million revision. Not a small revision. So these people don't understand the budgeting process. They don't respect budgeting. And again, I've said it many, many times before. None of them know about economics. None of them know about finance. None of them know about running a business. None of them in the A team. Because this ain't a small revision. Same thing Sean said. Tim is saying the same thing. They're spending. And nobody's where the money going. So then Marriott is in trouble because they need to meet the financial obligations. Marriott in trouble. So if Marriott shut down, what's going to happen to St. Kitts? Right? And so all of these are things that Tim drew the attention to. Oh, and the second reason why he used that is that he was saying that you could bail out Marriott, but you got some small businesses in St. Kitts will want to bail out. So how you pick and choose winners and losers? So those are the 2 points we were trying to make. So that was one of the main things that came out of Tim's presentation, the fact that they're spending money in a nonsensical kind of way. And then Tim was discussing the fair share. And like I said before, that's not something I would ever agree with Tim on. He failed. Because if you have the Charles on the cards, you all had an agreement. Under the agreement, you need World Bank or nobody to tell you. Must give them this, give them that. Under the agreement. And then you want to talk about constitutionality. You knew that before you signed your card. You knew that before you were given the prime ministership. You knew about the constitution. So what happened? Right? So you will never get me on that one day. You will never be the allegations on that one day. You did not treat Nevis well. You did not. You got the monies. You didn't give Nevis what the agreement said. So you will never win on that one. And he went on long trying to defend it. No, trying to defend the whole fair share thing. You will never win the fair share argument. And had Joe up there looking like he's some hero about, my government giving them fair share and whatnot. So I wouldn't even have mentioned the fair share. But again, experience, skills in the political arena, he was able to, make it sound less, not as bad as it really is. Some of us gonna hear it and say, yeah, he was bad with that one day, but the way he put it over, ain't gonna sound as bad as it really was. So I got to go into the fair share thing because in my view, he ain't got no win when it comes to that one. Then he was able to use the audit report to point out a number of abnormalities in expenditure, in spending by the government. He mentioned the water tank. One number over here, one number over here. Lots of money for a water tank. Merit loan was also mentioned, right? And then we're talking about the budgeting, saying the labor create the budget, and in one instance they're saying, okay, you're gonna be a deficit of 28 million. Sounds good. So it sounds good on paper. But then the reality was that it became a deficit of over $300 million. So how is it that you are budgeting a deficit of 28 million, but then the reality is 300 million? Like, who making the budget for you guys? Like, which way are you doing this budget? Because it makes no sense, as Tim's trying to say. Making a budget with this government makes no sense because they're gonna still spend crazy money without telling the people them. So on the paper it looked like, okay, on a small deficit spending, that's part of it. But then the reality is, it is way beyond what they're saying, way beyond imagine you're running your house and you budgeting for the month. Let's say you're making $1,000 a month. And you're saying, I got some savings too. Savings about $2,000 in my savings. So this month gonna be a slow one. So the $1,000 I'll have to dip into my savings and take off maybe a little $200 deficit. But imagine you end up taking off 1,500 out the 2,000. Like, it's a big difference. Big difference. And as Tim is saying, they are trying to talk about sustainability. This level of spending is not sustainable. It is not sustainable. We're going to end up back in the hands of the IMF. This level of spending is not sustainable. So that's why I say that these people always call words sustainability. But what you're doing, the SSZ, they're not sustainable practices. Tabasco pepper, they're not sustainable practices. So you're talking about sustainability, but you're spending crazy money, which will end up having us increase our debt and back to the IMF. Don't make no sense. And then the last response there, the last thing I wanted to touch on is that, maybe I'm not too deep in it, but he was talking about CBI and the monies that, were there. And he said that he inherited basically a damaged CBI program from Douglas. Which is true. We all know that we were on the blacklist, and Canada and America were looking at us from inside of the eyes. We were in some trouble with our CBI based on our passport, residency, and whatnot. So we were in some trouble. And so Tim came in and kind of stabilized it. And it was under the Unity administration that they made the most money in the last 15 years, which was $600+ million in CBI revenue. $600 million in CBI revenue. So you can't deny that. And then Drew's retort was that Drew, inherited a damaged CBI too. So all them claiming that the CBI they inherited was damaged. But what Timothy was able to point out was that a lot of the money from the CBI was already committed to other ventures. He gave examples like where he had to spend that money to help Christian Hill, he had to help with the STEP program, and those kind of things. And here is where I agree with Dr. Joe. Because Tim, yeah, this might be true. You have to spend on Christian Hill, spell and STEP, etc., etc. But to Drew's point, where are the receipts? You can't just tell us on the top of your head that this had to happen. Bring the reports. Bring the receipts. Show us where the money went. Sure, you could say it. You want to believe you. It's up to us. We want to believe you or not. But bring the receipts. And that's what Drew was saying. That you can't tell us now how we spend the money when you ain't got no receipts. I, for one, I believe Tim to a certain degree in terms of how the money had to be spent. Because you could see that they pay merit and that kind of thing. And what disappointed me in Drew's response was that Drew, you said you did this report and you did this thing. How you can't bring out your head where the money went? He keep boasting, I brought it in this house. I put it down. But can't even tell us one factual line about the whole CBI thing. He had to wait till the next day to go look. And I saw that a lot with Drew during his presentations. He's not prepared. Many times he had to rely on the AG. AG, go look up this for me, go look up that for me. And then give me the laptop, let me read it. He can't think off his feet, and it's like he not remember. He need to remember. So it's very disappointing. Even when he was presenting, he reading things. You could tell by the man he read over that deal. The man stumbling. The man even saying what he believe. Things that he's reading ain't even match up to what he actually said. So again, that was the next example. He boasting. I brought it in here in this house. Tell us now. Tell us where you can't even estimate where 10 million went. You can't even estimate nothing. Right? So again, Tim's presentation was a more of a back and forth thing with Joe and all those things, but he raised some good points. They are spending money carelessly, foolishly, and he proved that a lot of these people in power, Labour administration, they don't read. They are, as we say, intellectually lazy, willfully ignorant, and full of arrogance. Could you imagine you read the audit report? You ain't read the audit report, so you can't even know what the man talking about. Embarrassing. So that was my takeaway from Tim's response. But here I'm going to say though, PLP and PAM, they need to join together. They need to come back together. Not Tim as Prime Minister. Lord, no. Maybe Minister of Finance or something, but they need to come back together. Because for what you could see in these presentations, Sean would bring the real hard facts, the more academic approach. Tim would bring the more people-centered approach, the way he'd speak, the way he could relate more to the people. There's a stigma, which is unfortunate, which is not true, but it's unfortunate that Pam ain't for the poor, Pam ain't not true. But he out there, so we can't tell people what to think. They feel Tim is for the people, Tim is for the people. So PLP and Pam, bury the hatchet, come back together, let Tim deal with the people-centered part of things, let Pam deal with the visionary plans, programs, projects. Let me elevate the country, right? And so that is my coverage for the 2026 budget debate. I ain't covering like I said, the peanut gallery. I ain't covering no Samuel and no Joel and just the leaders of the various parties. That's what we're covering. Make it what it is, because the rest going to parrot what the leaders would have said. So, and I ain't covering Jews closing either, because the budget leave a lot to be desired. It leaves a lot. I have no hope, based on the budget I heard, that we are going to be in a better position come the next 2-3 years. No, fiscally, and when it comes on money, we're in trouble with the Labour administration leading the charge. Right? So let me know what you think. Stay, like, subscribe, hit the bell for when we drop more videos. Thanks for watching.